This is the Next Bite of Life podcast, the place to be to hear personal stories from expats, digital nomads, and everybody else taking their next bite of life. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Next Bite of Life podcast. My name is Kem Casanelli. Today on the show, we have Debbie and Shannon. Now, their website is called Retire is Great. I don't have to explain to you what that means because um, retirement is actually something great. And the tagline that I noticed on their website is like, they show you retire going from good to great. So, welcome to the show, Debbie and Shannon. How are you?
We're great. How are you, Kem?
Not too bad. Thank you for asking. Now, I know that you guys have been retired for a little bit. How long has the website been in existence?
We are coming up on our very first 1 year anniversary in the middle of June.
Fant- Fantastic. So now, what led to the formation of the blog? I know reading up on you guys, doing a little spying. I know Debbie had a bad work experience, and ageism was the one of the reasons why you chose to like retire. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. And Debbie, I'll let you talk about your experience.
For me, it was just I was working at a job, and I really did enjoy my job. I worked with a wonderful woman. I was in accounting, and she just, treated me really well. And she left to go and pursue her own sort of thing and business. And they hired somebody else to come in and take her place. Well, this guy just sort of was not very good at his job, and he made my life a living hell, to be honest. And I did all his job. He took the credit. I took the brunt of if anything went wrong. Um, he was very insulting to me, like even as a female in a male dominated industry, and it was affecting my health. I was getting to the point that like my blood pressure was at stroke level. I could hardly
Oh
walk. I
wow.
was just miserable.
Oh my god.
And yeah. And it was really, really bad. And unfortunately, there's still so much of that today, especially with women
Yep,
in the workforce. And
definitely.
yeah. And so I came home one day, and he had disciplined me for a minor mistake and took it right over the
Oof.
top, to the point of after 7 years of exemplary service, he told me this was my first and last warning, and next time I'd be fired.
Oh my
And
god.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
then,
Sounds like he had some problems.
yeah, yeah, he's got a lot of problems. So I came home and talked to Shannon, and Shannon said, "You know what? That's it. You're leaving." And we talked about
Good
it
for
on the week.
you.
Yeah. And we talked about it over the weekend, and I resigned on that Monday, and I was done by the end of the month. And that was last April 30th was my last day.
I bet he regretted that decision, and he regretted your decision. I mean, I
Uh,
don't understand why people have to be so mean.
I know, I know. I don't either, especially when somebody's just trying to help you and help you succeed. And it's just, I don't regret the decision at all. I'm sure him and the general manager regret it a lot.
Of course, because now now they know that the emperor has no clothes, right? The
Yeah,
person that
yeah,
was doing the job is now gone.
yeah.
You can't hide anymore.
No, no, and that's true.
Wow.
That's true. And about 6 months after I left, they did hire somebody to replace my position that they said they were not going to replace my position. And the woman, yeah, and the woman only lasted 3 months, and she was gone.
Ah,
So
see,
it,
hopefully they'll know what the problem is and fire that guy ultimately.
that would be the ultimate decision. That would be the best one for the company, I think. So
Yeah, I don't blame you for leaving at all. I would have done the same thing because really nobody, especially to the point where it affects your health. Oh no. No, no, no. Nothing is worth that.
yeah, no, no, and that's that's kind of a wake up call. It makes you realize what's important in life, and it's definitely not work.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Shannon, I know yours is ageism, right? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. And just to preface that, I spent 25 years in the telecommunications industry. I love my job as well. I was very successful. However, corporate downsizing. They looked at
Mm.
employees, and once they got past 50 years of age, there was definitely a get them out the door. And it hit me actually about 3 weeks before I turned 53 years old. And I was absolutely blindsided. I was completely lost. I didn't know what to do. Um, you don't expect this sort of thing. And too young to
No, there's
retire.
no loyalty.
There is none. Everything's about bottom line dollar, isn't it?
When I was a pharmacist, like new pharmacist, and I would see them do the same things. I work for a chain company, and they would do exactly that. As soon as they were close to their pension or they turned 60, boom, they found the smallest excuse to get rid of them. That's just terrible. It's amazing that it's still going on year after year.
Absolutely. It's actually highly prevalent. I think there's some statistics, research we found that was it 56% of people are forced out of their career jobs. Part of
Oh,
downsizing, layoffs.
At least once.
imagine.
It's very difficult getting a good career job once you've been let go after 50 years of age.
I mean, I don't understand. What do they think you're going to do when every company is exactly
Yeah,
like
you
them,
would
you
you
know?
would think they would value all the experience and knowledge you have, but they don't.
I was just about to say that it's true. You will think, because I mean, really, do you expect some 20-year-old just got out of school to like know everything? I mean, they should value the experience that you have, that you can pass on to these
Well,
people.
those 20-year-olds, most of them think they know everything already anyway.
Well, I did know everything when I was 20, right? Oh my God, it's insane. So you were like, forget this, when this happened, how did you like pull yourself up by the bootstraps, so to speak?
Well, to be completely candid, I was devastated. That happened in end of May in 2013. I took the summer off, decided not to do anything other than just work on a project I wanted to do, and that was a kitchen renovation. And it wasn't until that fall that I decided, what do I want to do? How do I want to continue? And I started looking into, do I want to apply to get another job? Do I want to start a business? Do I want to become a franchise? All those type of options came together for me. And what I chose at that time was actually to become a dealer in telecommunications using my 25 years of experience.
Hmm.
So I did that for about 5 years and I was moderately successful, but I didn't enjoy that. It
Yeah.
wasn't fun for me. It required a lot of going out to make sales, doing door to door cold calling on businesses.
Mm.
So the opportunity really came together when Debbie's situation came to a head, and we sat down and we said, "What do we want to do?" And we decided, let's create a blog about retirement.
It's
Hmm.
a very, very, very. We did some research into it when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do, and we found it to be really, really underserved. And the information you find out there is confusing and it's scattered all over the place.
And I think you're led to believe that, okay, you work, well, this is what they tell you, and you've just proven the fact that it's not so. You're supposed to work till you're 60, 62, 65, retire and have your package and statutory security. And you're discovering that that's not true. They let you go at the age of 53 and you have to now make other decisions. So it's nice to have one place like your website where you can get all the information, isn't it?
That's what we think. That's why we wanted to pull it together because I know that we tried to find some information for something that we were looking up, and it was just insane how many places we had to go to find one simple little answer.
I wonder if it's designed that way on purpose.
I wonder because the government has a lot of control over it, and it's like it's cat
Exactly.
and mouse.
Wow. No, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you definitely want to check out that website. Retire is great because you even have like free PDFs to help people that are thinking about retiring, right? I saw a couple of freebies there.
Yeah,
So, you want to get in there, and if you're thinking about it or you're nearing that age, you definitely want to check that out. Now, I know one of the ebooks is called Retirement for First Timers, right?
That's correct.
Is that because you think that you can retire more than once, or?
Well, I'm sure there's some people that have, but that's actually our pride and joy, and it's completely free. And what our intent is to summarize and pull things together in a concise manner, so someone looking at retirement at their fingertips can easily understand some of the issues and challenges and have a roadmap to make it easier.
And have some few resources in there too that they can just click through to find more information.
Oh, fantastic. That's the kind of guys that I like because, it really makes you feel like everything has been done for you. You just need to read it. And especially if you can click through and find out even more information, makes it even better. We'll get back to this show in just a minute. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe to the Next Bite of Life podcast right where you're listening. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, any of the platforms, you can just hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified anytime there's a new episode. So make sure you do that. Now back to the show. I need to talk to you a little bit about FIRE, the FIRE movement. Can you, walk us through for people who don't know what that is?
Absolutely. So, I mean, FIRE, what that stands for is Financial Independence, Retire Early. And there's quite a growing trend of people focusing on trying to get financially independent, to save money, to invest well. So they've got that independence, that flexibility where if need be or if they choose to, they can retire early.
So now I know there are different branches of FIRE, the lean FIRE, the fat FIRE, the almost FIRE. Do you guys subscribe to one of them, or what would you consider your lifestyle as being? Which one of those FIREs?
Well, certainly we've maintained a relatively frugal lifestyle. We've both saved throughout our lives.
Okay.
We didn't actually, I guess, embrace FIRE number of years ago. It's something we've kind of learned about once we got a retirement stuff going. So we're almost like an accidental
Okay.
FIRE success story. We
Oh, I like that. It throws another little wrinkle into that FIRE thing.
We're a whole new category.
Exactly. That's wonderful. I mean, really, no size fits all. Isn't that true?
Yes, exactly. That's very true.
and that's one of the things you'll find about retirement. It's unique for each and every person.
Now, I know the accepted FIRE calculation is the 4% rule, where you save up like 20, you figure out how much you spend per year, multiply it by 25, and then you have how much you need to retire. Now, do you really truly believe in that? Do you go by the 4% rule? Do you have some people do 3% if they're really frugal, 5%? What percentage? Where do you guys fall in?
Well, when it comes to the 4% rule, we kind of were looking at it, and they're saying, like, if you want to live on $40,000 a year when you retire, that you need to save $1 million. Well, in this day and age, how many people do you know that can save $1 million? Not many.
Susie
Susie
Orman.
Orman, yeah, that's about it. I
She's about the
know.
only one, right?
I
5
know.
million.
So what we did is we reversed engineered and did all the calculations,
Okay.
and tried to make out what is the minimal amount you would need to retire to live on $48,000 a year. And then in that, we used the
Okay.
assumptions that your pre-retirement income was $60,000. Your investment income interest rate is going to remain at 6% for two people. The inflation rate is going to go up by 2%, and then Social Security cost of living
Mhm.
rate increases 2%. So we kind of took those assumptions. And when I went through and I did all the math, being the accountant in the
Okay.
family, we figured out that at age 62, if you
Yes.
have $430,000 saved, you should be fine, because savings is 61% of your income and Social Security is 39%. So if you're 65, it goes down to 364,000. And again, at 67, it goes down to 311,000.
Mhm.
And, and what the 4% rule says at
Mhm.
40, to spend $48,000 a year in retirement, you would have to save $1.2 million. So people look at that, yeah, and people look at that number and they go, "Well, I can't make that
I
anyway, so
see.
why should I even try?"
Exactly. Just throw away the whole thing because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
At least to them, it's unattainable. Now,
Yeah.
when you did your calculation, and is that available on the website? Like they can see that, because it's one thing to hear it, but to see it actually written, then it makes it a little bit clearer.
We have some infographics in our How Much to Save for Retirement article.
Okay.
The actual Excel calculations, those aren't available. Like it's we did it like for each year, and it's just very, very extensive. And
To
it just would complicate things
yeah,
that doesn't need to be complicated. That's why we
yeah.
made up the infographics to try and make it a little simpler.
Exactly. So they can get, a good idea of what they need, which is something you shouldn't get all your information from what you should use a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Think of how you've been living all along and make sure that this can work for you. But this gives you a very good starting point, doesn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now,
One of the keys really to keep in mind is how much do you need to have a comfortable retirement? How much do you need every year? What are
yes.
your expenses? And once you get that base on it, then you can start easily looking at saying, what do I need to really have saved? How much do I need to have invested?
Now, are you a big advocate of, like, I know a lot of fire believers believe in like the geographic arbitrage part of the equation where you live in a cheaper area to save money and so you can achieve retirement faster. Now, do you guys advocate that, or is your equation geared more towards older people? Really, because somebody who's 20 and wants to retire at the age of 30, yeah, they can do it. But now you have to account for, 40 years more of living, and there are just too many variables. What do you say to somebody who's mid 30s, for instance?
Well, my advice to anybody in their mid 30s is don't get caught up with consumerism. Try to make sure you continually save and invest wisely. So the rule of thumb should be
That
like
is
around
awesome.
15%. If you've got employee matching, use that, but put money aside. Put money aside. Maybe instead of taking that vacation or buying that new car, maybe you might want to just say, make sure I keep putting money aside. And of course, money compounds over time. So if somebody can start in their mid 20s,
Yes.
will have much more saved by the time they're in their 50s than if they start in their 40s.
And that's really the thing, like in this age, where the internet has all this information, it's not hard to really get the information that you need. So the earlier you start, the more you can work towards being financially independent. And that's something that everybody can use. You don't have to be, making $1 million, because obviously if you're making $1 million, your needs are going to be way better, way more than somebody who's surviving on 30,000. So you need to see what your life is like, right, and then apply to what you hope to achieve when you retire.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too is we also discovered when we were doing this is that the most people live, you did a calculation, said to 70 for the next 40 years. Saw in our studies that people generally nowadays live to 85. So that even adds another 15 years on top of it.
Now, one thing I'd like to also point out, Kim, and this is kind of a scary statistic, 45% of Americans have no retirement savings at all.
Insane.
In fact, only about 11% have saved $500,000 or more. So when you mention expats and maybe living in another country for a lower cost of living, I believe that's something more and more people are going to need to start considering.
Yes, because really, I mean, healthcare, for instance, is a big part of staying in the US, for instance, and I know when we were thinking about where were we going to move to, and we thought, oh, maybe we could stay here, but staying there meant that I had to keep working full time. We both had to keep working full time. So to be able to live in a different country where the cost of living is cheaper and healthcare is cheaper, yes, you're going to have to look into that if that is what it comes down to. And doing your research, start off with this: how much you need to live, where can you live? That's things, those are things that you really need to like think about and act on.
Absolutely.
Your website definitely gives them the starting point to be able to do that. So you don't believe there's a best age to retire, do you?
No, I mean, first of all, there's no mandatory retirement age except for several very specific industries. Some people choose and plan to never retire. They enjoy what they do. Other people might choose
Yes.
to retire early because they want to live in a different country, travel the world. It comes down to what's most
Yes.
important for each and every one of us.
Ooh, I like that you said that. What's most important? Because sometimes we're so caught up in like trying to keep up with what everybody else is doing and what your neighbors are doing and what your boss is doing that you forget to think about what you actually want and what's the most important thing to you.
Yes, that's so true.
I know I saw one of you one of your blog posts. You didn't realize I stalked you so much, did you?
Well, that's kind of that's good.
We're
Now let's
flattered.
discuss
Yeah.
marital happiness in retirement.
Yeah, that is uh that is something that, we found that there's a lot of uh interest out there, if for lack of a better term. There's there's a thing out there now called gray divorce or silver splitter, because the divorce rate doubles when you hit over the age of 55.
Scary.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
And it just seems to be, getting worse. And so it's all about maintaining those relationships in a retirement. Like, the path to your marital happiness really is communication. And you
Yes.
have to be able to trust each other, you have to be able to compromise. It's kind of like, there's this rope bridge swinging across a big open chasm, and you have to cross from here, where it's just the base camp, the normal people who are just taking life day by day, and you want to go over to the other side where everybody's living happy and they're dancing and having fun.
Mm,
But you got to traverse that scary bridge that could possibly break halfway there. And
exactly.
that just, it's all about the steps to keep your marriage um great, I guess. And it's just, like I
Yeah.
said, communication, trust, compromise, um being on the same page, talking about your dreams, your goals. What do you want out of life? It's an interdependence, it's not one person over the other.
Yeah.
And I mean, for Shannon and myself, we're not only married and husband and wife, we're also best friends. We can spend a lot of time
Yeah.
together and we never tire of each other's company.
Even during the pandemic, and I think a lot of people, it was an eye opener to suddenly be in the same under the same roof 24/7 in this pandemic, and how do they get along, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because that's what I was just about to say. Like maybe this pandemic showed a lot of people like, this is it. This is like what retirement is gonna look like as far as spending a lot of time with the same person. I mean, because most people work, they come back, after a long day, you have a few hours here, a few hours there, and all of a sudden you have, this cooped up day and night. And I know, like, especially like here in Spain, there was a lot more um
Yeah.
marital abuse, and it was really bad. So, and I'm sure it was the same. I know it was the same in South America and a few other places. So I'm sure the same, everywhere in the world.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes down to how well
Yeah,
do you get together, and your spouse should be the most important person in your life. That's what I believe.
definitely. Now, how do you answer those people that say, "Oh, I can't retire because I'm gonna be bored"? What can you say to them that they need to prepare for so they don't get bored in retirement?
Boredom and actually loneliness as well are really big issues. And the reality is, when we're working, we have an inherent sense of purpose in the fact we have to wake up every morning, we have to drive into work, we have our day, we're busy. Uh, Most people enjoy their work, they take pride in it. But the day you leave work, all that changes. Now you don't answer to anybody. Now you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And unfortunately, a lot of folks don't really have any hobbies or interests or things that will occupy them. Suddenly it becomes, well, for lack of a better word, like Groundhog Day. Every day is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Every day is a repeat.
Yeah.
And they're not finding anything that's meaningful or fulfilling to do. They start getting, in some cases, busyness, just doing stuff to keep busy or expanding their days, taking that
Mm.
shopping trip to Costco. They only need to pick up one or
Mm.
two little things, but it becomes almost an all day event. So, one
Wow.
of the things that we discuss as well in some of our stuff is, how do you find that sense of purpose? How do you find something that is worth waking up for in the morning, something that you look forward to? And finding a sense of
Yeah.
purpose isn't easy, but there is some things you can do to kind of really get things moving, if you want, for lack of a better word. And one of them is daily physical activity. We should all exercise.
Yeah.
You're investing in your future
Yeah.
self by being physically active and keeping healthy. Social interaction, making sure you've got friends and a social circle that you can interact with. I mean, every day again, and I might tie in with some physical activity. Maybe you join a walking group just to get out each day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mental stimulation, doing something to keep your
Mm-hmm.
mind active. Reading a book. Even better, reading the stuff on Retire is great.
Exactly. And actually acting on the things that you read and retire is great, right?
Exactly. And giving back to others,
Yes.
because doing some volunteer stuff or something again that makes a difference in this world. So, I mean, those are four things we
Yeah.
mentioned to maybe help alleviate that boredom or what to
Yeah.
do. Take it in small steps, and keep yourself active.
It's true. You don't have to do it all.
Shannon, one of his friends that retired, like he even went to work part time just because he, not because he needed the money, but because he just liked the interaction, and he was actually working at something that had always been an interest for him.
Oh, that's nice. Because like people get upset when they say, okay, you're retired, but you're not really retired. You're working 10 hours at, McDonald's or something. That's not real retirement. Well, retirement is what you make it, isn't it? If you feel like you need to still have that interaction with people and you want to work, then you should be able to work. That's the fun part of it, being able to do what you want to do.
Exactly. Doing something fun, doing something meaningful.
I think a lot of people are so fearful. And and the thing, like I always say, like when we first moved away from the US, I was all like, Malta is going to be it. And we were there for a while, and then it didn't work out, and we went to the next place, and then we went to the next place. But I mean, I think retirement is the same thing. If you're not enjoying it, well, then change it. I mean, you're not locked into, you don't have to answer to anybody but yourself. If you don't like it, you can, take that
Exactly.
job, take another side hustle, do whatever you want.
Well, retirement is nothing more than the next stage of your life, except it'll probably last 20 or
Yep.
30 years. So you can make it whatever you want to make it.
I know I've taken up a lot of your time. I'm going to ask you one final question before I let you go. What is the advice that you have for somebody who wants to do the same thing that you're doing, take control of their lives, and, think about either early retirement or retirement? You've given them the advice saying, save, save, save. But what is something else that you would like to have them know?
That's a very good question, Kim Kim. My answer to that is plan, prepare, remain flexible. Prepare for it
I like that.
and realize
Plan.
things are going to change.
Yeah. A pandemic might happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then smack right dab in the middle of your retirement. You become a shapeshifter. You've got to just plan and dodge things, and and you hope that everything works out for the best. And we know, I mean, we know you don't need that $1 million or the $5 million or whatever it is that people are telling you that you need. You need to go and check out Retire is Great. Check out what what explanation they have, the alternative to the 4% plan, and see if that works for you, right?
Yes, and like you said, it's remaining flexible and dodging those mishaps when they come, because they always do. There's Murphy's law. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yep.
And you do your best to prepare, and make sure you have everything in place so that you can weather whatever happens as best you can. But you're going to have to be changing on the fly. It's just a fact of life. That's what life is all about. And retirement is no different.
No, it's not. Like you said, it's just another phase of your life that lasts 30 years, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we firmly believe it should be the best years of your life too.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes. That's a fantastic one. I think that's a great way to like end it. It should be the best part of your life. It's the latter part, the part where you've grown up, what's life was before that. You know what's coming. You've experienced life and you want to, well, I guess maybe my thing was I get a little bit I'm not even sure what the word is. Maybe I get a little bit worried when I hear somebody that's super young, that's, 20 something, that says they want to retire in 5 years, because to me it just seems like you don't have enough life experience and enough ability to adapt to changes. Like Debbie was saying, like you need to be able to prepare and
Yeah.
plan. Maybe there
Well,
are some people that are mature, but I just think that there are things that you should do, like make sure you qualify for social security, and before you think about all this, because even though they say it may not be there when we need it, what's the hedge your bets and just qualify for it anyway.
It's always good to have a backup plan.
Oh, I like that. Yes, a backup plan for the backup plan. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, you guys. It's been so much fun talking to you, and I've learned a lot too. There was a couple of things in there that I didn't even know, so I guess I need to read up a little bit more on your blog.
thank you, Kim Kim. We really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Next Bite of Life podcast. Bye.